All right, it is SNL. We are out on some prospects. We will go through those. That's why we are dressed for the occasion. We're also going to relive the Stefon Diggs era and a Texans legend. We're going to see a lot more of him. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along for the best Texans coverage in the game. Stoots, let's remember the Stefon Diggs era real quick. There's a lot of, I think, appropriate dialogue calling this kind of a failure, wondering if perhaps the Texans made a mistake in trading for Diggs, in voiding the contract. Some would say maybe a mistake in not bringing him back. How would you remember the Stefon Diggs era?
It was a worthwhile risk at the time that didn't pay off. I mean, the Texans took a really big risk with how they operated with Stefon Diggs. They went and traded a future second-round pick that they knew was going to be a second-round pick. And it's not like it was some sort of like, if he does this, it turns into – no, they knew it was going to be a second-round pick. They traded a future second-round pick that they believed wasn't going to help them as much as Stefon Diggs was in 2024. They adjusted the deal to make it a one-year situation in all likelihood, and then it didn't work because he got hurt. And that was a risk that was associated with the trade, and it was a risky move. It didn't pay off for them, and now they have to live with the consequences of that risky move. And I wonder if, because that risk backfired on them, if that makes Nick Caserio a little bit more risk-averse going forward for that type of commitment, that type of deal.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, there's a couple of layers to this move. I think trading the second, when you got the extra second, that obviously doesn't look great. I think even worse was the manner in which they handled the contract, where you void the contract and then you basically are taking on $16 million extra of dead cap for a rental. So some say, well, you rented Stefon Diggs. Now, if you'd have rented Stefon Diggs, that's fine. But you basically went to the video store, you rented Stefon Diggs, and then you turned him in, and I'm dating myself here, you turned him in like 2 weeks late. And you got like a $16 million late fee or whatever the dead cap's going to be this year. So it wasn't a true rental unless you want to factor in that there was a late fee with the rental. So that's the confusing part to me. And that's where I get really confused as to what they did with Stefon Diggs. I understand the line of thinking that they had when they acquired Stefon Diggs. My problem now, though, is why exactly was that a necessary thing? And why does that action create the type of situation where now all of a sudden you're kind of paying for Stefon Diggs after Stefon Diggs leaves? I think that's the problem. It's the action. And obviously that you sprinkle in some bad luck, because if you were going to rent Stefon Diggs for a year, I think the Texans had hoped that at the bare minimum, even if we didn't see a huge jump, you at least have Tank Dell on the roster and you have Tank Dell next year. And then maybe you have John Mechie take that next step. That didn't happen. So now the wide receiver position is even more dire. I'm not blaming them for that, because they couldn't have forecasted Tank Dell having such a catastrophic injury that he was going to miss this year. And whatever with the John Mechie thing, we can do that. But the $16 million in dead cap next year is something that I don't think can really be justified. And I don't know what the line of thinking was. Maybe they thought there was a chance that had he had a good season, then maybe they would have been able to meet the deadline. I think it was March 1st, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, early March.
Sounds about right.
To be able to avoid the $16 million dead cap. So maybe the fact that he got hurt factored into it. But that's the problem I'm having here. Not necessarily the risk, but the fact that you have the dead cap.
Well, they didn't have to do the contract thing either. They acquired a contract that had Stefon Diggs under contract for a few years, and if they wanted to move on after the 1 year, there wasn't any dead money associated with that. He had non-guaranteed money after the first year of the contract. So then it's like, okay, well, why did they do that? Well, I'm trying to come up with an idea. Well, maybe they needed that to get the max out of Stefon Diggs, to get the best version of Stefon Diggs. Well, if you got to do that, don't trade for that guy. Like if you gotta adjust his money like that and make it so that he can benefit from it if he has a big year, don't trade for that guy. Do something else. Like once they made that contract adjustment, it was the most likely outcome was that it was a 1 year situation, because he's either not going to work which ultimately what happened, or he was going to play really well and some team was going to give him 25, 26, 28 million dollars. Obviously, he got hurt, so he didn't get to showcase that. But there were plenty of teams with cap space and money that would have paid Stefon Diggs way more than the Texans would have been willing to pay him if he'd had a good season. So I didn't understand the contract adjustment at the time. I suppose there's a little bit of like, okay, we can move the money around here in this year in the way that we're operating, but it's not like it was like traded for Diggs and then went and got Danielle Hunter. Like they already had some of the money committed from the big money to the roster. So I don't know. It must have been a motivation for Stefon Diggs situation, but the dead cap sitting around while he's gone and playing in New England, that doesn't sit well with you in large part because 2024 ended up as a failure because he got injured. And that's a risk that you take. And yeah, was it a lower end risk because he didn't have a big injury history? Sure, but it's still a risk. If you have a guy for 1 year and he gets hurt and he can't play for half the year, then you don't get anything out of him after you sent off assets and spent money on him.
And I just wonder, and I have no problem with bringing him back. I was actually okay with it. The question I have is, why was he one and done? Was that the plan from the beginning? Because if it was the plan from the beginning, then it's the level of dumbassery with the 16 million and dead cap is kind of a next level type of thing. Is it maybe just the fact that he got hurt and they didn't want to invest? Was it something else? That's the question I have. The one thing I will say, and I don't think this is a reason why Stefon Diggs isn't here, but I don't think it helped. And I'm not irrationally speculating. And I said this yesterday on the night stream, the locker room night stream. I think this is an educated opinion, and I think anyone could have this educated opinion. I don't think it's like something that I get from going in the building or whatever. But I don't think, like, if you're thinking about Stefon Diggs being a long-term part of things, if you're D'Amico Ryans and you're Nick Caserio and you're open to it, when he gets hurt and he's not in the building anymore, I don't think that that's something that would really help the cause if they were open to it. And I hear D'Amico Ryans talk about how nice it was to have Jalen Petrie in the building while he was rehabbing. And I've heard him say that about a couple of guys. And I'm not sitting here saying that it had any impact on anything, but I just think we can use common sense on top of maybe some other things that we've heard and acknowledge that for a long-term piece to not be around when he's rehabbing and just be gone and you only see him a couple of times.
When the national spotlight shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know that necessarily is something that they would really enjoy or like.
Stefon Diggs was one and done because the Texans believed he was going to help them get to the AFC Championship game and maybe further. That's why Stefon Diggs was one and done. Nick Caserio didn't push all his chips into the table, but he took a big stack of chips and he pushed them into the middle of the table, and it didn't work. And so my big thing is how many of these type of risks are any of us comfortable with Nick Caserio taking in the future? I would tell you that near zero. Don't take away ammunition from day two for a 1-year situation. Now, if they had used that future second-round pick to, I don't know, move up in the draft and draft Ladd McConkey, like, I'd have been fine with it. Obviously, because the results are good, but it's also a 4-5 year situation depending on where you draft that guy. If they'd stuck it at 23 and picked a player versus moving out, like, that's, again, a 5-year situation, and maybe it changes a lot of stuff on the back end, butterfly effect and so on. But they used a future second-round pick on a 1-year situation. And it feels like that was a pretty expensive deal, looking at how all these other deals transpired and how many guys get cut when we know the team is not keeping the guy around. They used a second-round pick on him, and they didn't get a full year out of him either. And it's not a risk that I'm looking forward to them ever taking anytime soon.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, there is a certain element of it that was bad luck. Like, if you would have gotten Stefon Diggs for a whole season, and let's say, hell, in the playoffs, let's say against Kansas City or something like that, Stefon Diggs is stepping up and making plays because you're really a couple of plays away. he started out all right. I mean, he was on pace for over 1,000 yards. He was on pace to be second on the team in touchdowns by far. So there was also just bad luck. Like, it was a bad risk and it was also bad luck.
Correct. So, well, that's part of the risk is you risked it on a 1-year situation with a guy, and if he gets hurt, your 1-year situation kind of goes down the drain. And I'm with you. Hey, he not falling down like Jared Wayne did in that game, where just like inexplicably Jared Wayne, had the wrong cleats or couldn't, whatever it was. But yeah, he ain't falling down like Jared Wayne did in that game. Maybe it changes something, but yeah, they didn't have him. Bad luck, and that's part of the risk of a 1-year situation. If you had drafted a wide receiver and they got hurt in the first year, you get 3-4 more years of the guy. You don't with Stefon Diggs. Maybe. He's over there in New England now.
It is
and nobody was interested in bringing Diggs back anywhere close to that dollar figure.
No, but it's not a true dollar figure. It's a little bit better version of the contract that they voided, where there was really no guaranteed money. This one's basically like 1 year guaranteed from the numbers that I've heard thrown out there. So
I'm not inclined to give him 1 year, $26 million guaranteed.
Me neither, especially when you already have 16 invested. It is SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you, HDAV Traveler, Swarm in the Soup. We're going to play a little I'm Out, a.k.a. Shark Tank, here in a sec, hence the suits.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. HDAV Traveler, shout out to you, mi amigo. He says, well, look at you two all dressed up. Nice haircut, Cody. Okay.
I just tamped it down with some mousse. I didn't get a haircut. Although I'm sure Landry would have a comment if I did get a haircut. He hates my haircut lady, even though
think about your haircut lady.
He hates my haircut ladies. You pay for that? I'm like,
nothing's ever been said about the haircut lady.
Hates the haircut lady.
Although I don't know, man.
You act like I'm McLean every time I get a haircut. You're like,
nah,
you really want to tell people?
It doesn't happen. It does. I do think it's nice of you to honor Hakeem Olajuwon, though, the Houston legend, with the haircut. Looks like that line's fading away a little bit there, my man. It's getting a little further back. It's going back. What is that? The Chris Berman?
I've never hidden the fact that I've got a widow's peak, and it's gonna eventually, like, this will be a little island one day. Like, this will be a little island. So I'm not hiding that fact. That's part of the reason I do have a little bit on the top, so that you don't see the M right here, like,
Jesse, Swarm in the Soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. Texans coverage brought to you by Daniel Starks and Matt Foley. Okay.
It's Daniel Starks. See, who's Daniel Starks?
I don't know who either one of these guys are, to be honest with you.
Oh, Matt Foley. I know Matt Foley. Motivational speaker, Chris Farley's character on SNL. Van down by the river.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That dude was hilarious, by the way. That dude was really hilarious. But yeah, way too soon. Cocaine and food will do that to you.
Original voice of Shrek, by the way.
Did not know that. Although I do get surprised by some of the voices now that the daughter's watching the movies. I get surprised by some of those voices. I do want to, before we kind of get into the Texans draft prospects and guys that we may be out on, I want to kind of just give a visual, and I'm going to go more in depth on this tonight. But just kind of a visual of where the Texans are heading into 2025 as of right now before the draft at the wide receiver position as compared to where they were last year. And I have 3 pieces of information here, and you can see Tank Dell 2023 heading into 2024. And then you have Stefon Diggs, and then you have all the Texans wide receivers combined, not named Nico Collins. And if you just look at these numbers, Tank Dell in 11 games had 47 catches, 709 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Diggs played all 17. He had 107, 1183, and 8 touchdowns. Every single stat that Stefon Diggs has was better than the 6-headed monster that we got right there at wide receiver. And Tank Dell had 3 more touchdowns and 30 less yards in 50 less games combined. So when you look at that visual and you just look at the state of the wide receiver position heading into the draft, that does kind of like tell you just how much different the wide receiver position looks now as compared to how it looked last year with the two guys and the three-headed monster we were talking about.
Why you make Christian Kirk look like he's going to be the new dad in the Brady Bunch?
Just emerging family, man.
Cheaper by the dozen, starring Christian Kirk, featuring.
It's just emerging family there. those are just kind of numbers to talk about. Where
is it too much to freaking ask for 2,000-yard wide receivers? Is that too hard? Am I asking for too much for the first time in franchise history?
Perhaps.
Yeah, probably am. Unless Christian Kirk throws back the clock a little bit and turns into first-year Jacksonville Christian Kirk, which, when healthy, he's been a productive player. He just had two really freak accidents in the past 2 seasons that have kept him off the field.
Yeah, and I think there's irony in the wide receiver as well with Caserio in that you've invested 2 second-round picks and a couple of third-round picks, and really all you have right now is Nico Collins. So there's a little bit of bad luck, but there has been decent investment in the wide receiver position. I think it's ironic.
Couple of wide receiver comments. Trade John Mechie for us. Value is gone. Too late. He doesn't have any value.
Yeah, it's gone.
And then Gio asks, did we find Will Fuller? It's a summer project. I will do everything I can to track down Will Fuller this summer.
I think Will Fuller might just like live in the woods, just hang out, like have like a mountain house, just kind of hanging out.
Well, then I'll go to REI and get outfitted and climb the mountain to go find Will Fuller if I have to. I'll do a live stream from the woods.
Derek says in retrospect, the Diggs move last year was a mistake. I supported it. Yeah, I think there's 3 ways to look at moves. I think there's the thought process when it happens. Sometimes there's moves that are so bad that they immediately don't make sense. I think in that moment you could understand the thought process. The overall like result, what you get, and I always go by like if we want to just use hindsight, the imaginary time machine, which is if we gave them imaginary time machine and they could go back in time, would they do it over again or would they redo it? The answer to that is obviously yes with the Diggs thing. But I think I think when the move was made, you can understand the line of thinking. And understanding the line of thinking doesn't necessarily mean that you accept rational explanations. Because when Hopkins was traded, the explanation was, well, we're going to spread the ball out to Randall Cobb and Brandon Cooks and stuff. That was just kind of an eye roll. But in this instance, you had CJ Stroud. And really, this is kind of what the Patriots are doing. It's what the Bills did. And Diggs has kind of been, it's funny because Diggs 3 different times has been the target of aggressive efforts to acquire assets with quarterbacks on rookie deals. With the Bills, it was an overwhelming success. Regardless of how it ended, that was an overwhelming success. Josh Allen's not Josh Allen without it. With the Texans, it was a failure. It didn't necessarily work out. Some things out of their control, but it was a failure. And then with the Patriots, we'll see. And I also think there is this factor because I didn't anticipate Stefon Diggs getting a contract, but I think there's a Patriots tax right now. And you look at all the free agents they sign, like this is not your Tom Brady, Bill Belichick Patriots where guys are willing to take less money and go play in New England. New England is basically where the Texans were a couple years ago and where the Jags are, where there was a Jags tax and there was a Texans tax. So that's another thing to factor in. But yeah, I agree with Derek on that. I think that is a fair assessment of that. It's not like, when the Titus Howard extension happened, it was immediately why. That wasn't necessarily the case with the Diggs move. I really didn't have like a major problem. And I also think they made the Minnesota move, trading for their second-round pick. They made that move knowing that they were going to make this Diggs move. Right. So, yeah, whether that's good or not, I agree with that.
I do wonder what last year looks like if Keenan Allen, if they'd been able to seal that deal versus the Diggs situation, because the report was that they were going to extend Keenan Allen because Keenan Allen was set to finish up his contract. So,
And he had an okay year last year. He wasn't bad.
well, it'd have been a lot better, I would think, on the Texans than that crappy Bears situation. I would have hoped. I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to somebody about this. Like, if you go through the list of things that you blame for the offense, like not working out, Stefon Diggs getting hurt, like fifth, fourth, fifth. Like there's 3-4 other things you can blame before you blame Diggs' knee getting hurt against Indianapolis in the middle of the season.
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there. And he was a good. I mean, he was a really good player. He was the best receiver in camp. And then, they kind of got stale. And then that was all that she wrote for Stefon Diggs. So pour one out for Stefon Diggs. We hardly knew you, and we'll see what happens with the Patriots. There you go.
I got to imagine not much is going to happen.
Yeah, I would imagine that. The market's bad though. I mean, it's a bad wide receiver market. Like I think in previous drafts, New England might have had hope that, hey, in that second round, we might be able to get us a receiver. I don't think they think that. And the Texans are 10 picks or whatever away from being in that same spot, 10, 12 picks away from being kind of in that same spot. So that's kind of where they're at.
The Patriots drafted the 10th wide receiver last year, and he stunk to high heaven. So, they need a little bit of help over there at wide receiver. And, the multi-year commitment, if it works out with a healthy Diggs, if he's ahead of schedule, he can play a little bit this year, so be it. But they needed that. And I got to imagine that, they were comfortable with the 10th guy last year. The 10th guy last year, Polk from Washington, hell, he could have been maybe the 1 or the 2 or the 3 this year with how rough the wide receiver situation is.
So we're less than a month away from the draft. It is SNL. There's a lot of takes. Yesterday, Texas had their pro day, and Ohio State's going to have theirs, and we're going to see what happens with Egbuka. But in the spirit of 25, let's talk about guys that we're out on, Shark Tank style. Hashtag I'm out when it comes to 25.
With Josh Simmons from The Ohio State University, the tackle. And I watched one of the draft shows I like, NFL Stock Exchange, and they did a mock draft with another show, and the Texans got up there, and it was just one of the guys was like, Josh Simmons. Nope, that's it. That's it. Josh Simmons. Got to be Josh Simmons. And I'm just like, he's coming off of a major knee injury. Like 5 months ago, he couldn't walk. He tore his patellar tendon 5 months ago. And I know he chopped his feet vigorously at the pro day today. And everyone's like, whoa, look at him. Look at him go. He's chopping his feet. It's a medical miracle. He's out there walking around and chopping his feet vigorously 5 months after. You can't draft a guy who's got a serious knee injury and might not even be able to help you in 2025. You can't do that. You can't do that with your first round pick. I don't give a damn if when he gets healthy, he's the best tackle prospect in this draft. You need a guy that can help you in 2025 and then be even better in 2026. I'm out on Josh Simmons, the Ohio State offensive tackle, at 25.
All right, this is a big list of people, but I am out on all true defensive linemen at 25. You can talk me into a linebacker. You can talk me into a hybrid type of guy like Walker. You could talk me into a lot of things on defense. You maybe even talk me into a safety if you so desired. But I'm out on this D-line talk. I don't need any more edge guys. You've invested enough. I don't need any D-linemen. We're good. Maybe later. But I am completely out on all true defensive linemen at 25. I'm out.
So no Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle.
Nope.
From Michigan. No Derek Harmon from Oregon, defensive tackle.
Nope.
Okay. No. Well, you fell asleep yesterday when I was telling everybody at Michael Williams, so that's a no for you.
Nope.
All right. Okay. I got a guy I'm out on at 25 that might surprise the chat here, might surprise the people when they see this. I'm out on Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden. And it's not because I don't believe Luther Burden's a good football player. He clearly is. You look at 2023, he's one of the most dynamic players in all of college football in 2023. In 2024, it kind of stunk compared to 2023. Now, Missouri's offense kind of stunk too. The quarterback wasn't very good. They couldn't get the ball out to those wide receivers. They weren't running the ball well. They weren't blocking well except for Mimbu. It's like, not good. But then I get to seeing all this stuff because this is rumor and innuendo time. And I start to see all this stuff pop up here. Todd McShay on Luther Burden. There's a lot of diva. And the biggest thing, when I talk to NFL teams, he just flat out quit that Alabama game. I'm sure I'll have people calling and SIDs and everything else, but go watch it for yourself. So that's a football thing. Like, he quit on a game. Okay, it's Alabama. Missouri stunk. Okay, it's not the worst thing in the world. But then it gets worse.
Oh, gosh, there's more?
Bob McGinn talked to a front office guy in the NFL, anonymous. And Bob McGinn, if you're unfamiliar with him, every year he's got this big conversation with people in the NFL about all these prospects. And that's where you get, some scathing comments, from anonymous people in the NFL about draft prospects. And this one, he's a 5-star. They kiss his ass for 3 years just to keep him there at Missouri, another scout said. The girlfriend is his manager. The mom is a problem, but he's a good player on Saturday, and he's very ordinary Monday through Friday. I'm like, golly. I see all that about Luther Burden. He's
What
not
was bad about that, though? He's a 5-star. They kissed his ass. He's a normal guy, and his family looks out for him. I didn't see anything too bad there.
He's all in it for the money, man. That Missouri had to bend over backwards to keep
That
him
seemed kind
there.
of laid back to me, man.
His girlfriend's his manager. That's not good.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
The mom is a
I'll
problem.
let my wife manage my shit.
We don't need a helicopter mom, okay?
Lamar Jackson's mom's a helicopter mom. How'd that turn out?
Lamar Jackson's mom is
You're
his
talking
agent.
about Derek Stingley's pops. Derek Stingley's pops is awesome.
I'm out on Luther Burden.
Yeah, you didn't sell me with that last one. The McShay stuff was cut and dry. The second one, I'm kind of like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, ordinary Monday, Friday. I'm out.
I'll take that. I'll take ordinary. That's better than. What do you want him to do? Stefon Diggs? You want him going backdoor on Cardi B while she's under the second trimester?
No, I want him to give a shit about being on the team. Not count his money Monday through Friday. Check the bank account every day on his app.
On the suit, Marcus Johnson.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Don't trust Demik or Caserio to get the OL rights. That's fair. That's fair. There's healthy skepticism when it comes to that.
You should be skeptical of everything they do on the offensive line until it looks good on Sunday for an entire season.
All right, next one. Put the shades on for this one.
Oh, boy.
Because I think this one might be for you.
Oh, boy.
Just had the daughter bring in the shades. Gray's Abel.
Oh, no.
100% outs on that. You just saw what Marcus said. There's no reason to trust these guys when it comes to offensive line. They drafted a guy out of Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher when Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M seemed to have momentum on Alabama. They have drafted a guy from Notre Dame. They have drafted a guy from Penn State, and none of those guys can play. So how the hell am I, as someone who covers this team, as someone who watches this team, as someone who watches this offensive line, how am I supposed to buy into an offensive lineman from North Dakota State? I'm not doing that on day one. If you want to talk me into it on day 2 or day 3, maybe we can get there, but I'm not buying in on an offensive lineman from North Dakota State. I don't even need to be sold on this guy. I am out.
Man, I can't believe this. You just went through why you buy in on him. because they went the traditional route. They went with the big school, Big Ten guy. They went with the SEC mauler. Try something else. Try something different. Go get the North Dakota State kid who went out there and kicked everybody's ass at the Senior Bowl. Go out there, get the guy who can play all three interior offensive line positions.
I'm out.
All right.
I'm out.
Wow. This feels like the time that Cuban was out on Scrub Daddy and he cost himself $1 billion.
You know how there's always like the highlight tape after. We used to have a friend who every time we would have the draft party, whenever there was like a small school guy and the guy was smashing on his draft tape, he would always be like, name that school, name that school, name that school. That's how I feel about Greg Zabel. I'm good.
I think I can name probably one or two of the schools he played against.
Yeah, we're
probably one or two of the schools. But yeah, look, in all seriousness, I know we talk about the Senior Bowl. It's not like Gray Zabel went to the Senior Bowl and beat up on a bunch of NFL players. Gray Zabel went to the Senior Bowl and beat up on a bunch of draft prospects, most of them who aren't going to be first-round picks. So, like, I understand that as a positive for him, but that only goes so far because some of these guys on Saturdays beat up on other first-round guys or had really successful long stretches where week after week after week, the other guy across from you is physically imposing. That's another thing for me for small school guys. Gray Zabel was probably the best line athlete in most of the games that he played over the course of the season. So he probably got by just being bigger, stronger, and faster than a lot of the guys that he played against. Whereas that doesn't cut it week in, week out in the SEC and the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC. That doesn't cut it week in, week out. So look, I like him. I'd be fine with him at 25. There's certainly some concerns there. It would be a big break from tradition for the Texans to draft him too, because they just don't draft small school guys.
Yeah, they haven't. I mean, they really haven't at all. Nick Caserio has not done that.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, the only non-Power 5 guy was Tank, and then heck, even UH is in the Power 5 now.
And I've gone in witness protection with the camera ever since I sounded off on him. So
you should get a voice changer. I can't draft Gray Zabel.
I don't like the guy.
Okay. You ready for this one? I got to bring the music back for this one. This is a big one here. Okay. The guy I'm out on at 25. Got the I'm out on Arizona wide receiver Tetaro McMillan.
When did this happen? This is a big flip.
I'm out. And when you see why, you'll understand. And I know I've been talking about this guy. I've been saying, if he's there at 25, get him. He gets to 21. I flipped on him. And one thing made me flip. And I got video evidence to show you why I flipped on him. It's Tet McMillan from the offseason talking about, well, you'll see.
Well, you know what? You don't watch football? At all? At all. Is it hard to watch film then if you don't like watching football? Yeah. For real? That's crazy. I don't like watching film either. I don't ever need to watch it by myself because we go over as a receiver group.
I don't watch football. I don't like watching film. I never watch film by myself. And we go over enough of it as a receiver group. I am out on that guy. He also, I heard this when I was listening.
I'm out too.
When I heard Chris Sims and talk about him, he said that when they walked up, somebody said, "Hey, like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer, T-Mac? Do you prefer Tet McMillan?" And when they asked him Tet McMillan, he said, "Don't ever call me that ever again." Like,
what does he want to be called?
He wants to be called T-Mac or Tetaro or however you say his first name. But I'm out on him. I also didn't like that he chewed with his mouth open. That's a big no-no for me. Don't like that. Okay. I did almost get back in, though, as he continued to eat and his friend kept asking him questions. He almost drew me back in with a really good food point. And I want to present that for the folks as well.
I'm out on him now.
I'm out.
I'm good.
I don't like football. I don't like watching film. I don't watch film by myself. I watch enough film with the wide receiver group.
We're done.
No, thank you.
We're done.
No, thank you. He did make a good point about waffles and pancakes, though, so I want to bring you that.
Sounds like I got like a waffle.
Waffle. Do you like pancakes or waffles better? Which one?
Probably pancakes, honestly. I feel like pancakes are way more consistent. And like the best pancake that I've ever had, like can't compare it to like that shit way better than the best waffle I've ever had, you know?
Wrong.
You disagree with that too.
Wrong. Waffles are way better than pancakes.
I like waffles more, but I agree with him that the best pancake I've ever had is better than the best waffle I've ever had.
Incorrect. And by the way, pancakes need to be crunchy. They don't need to be fluffy. The fluffy, it's just there's no identity with those. Yeah, crunchy, cook them, burn them a little bit, but no, waffles are 100 times better than pancakes. It's not even close. So yeah, I'm definitely I'm not drafting him in the 6th.
Yeah, I couldn't. And it's not like he's like. And look, I know there are guys that don't like football, that play football. And I know there are guys that don't watch film that are good at football. Like, I get that. But if Stefon Diggs told me that, I'd be like, well, you got 9 years or 8 years or whatever it is of a resume. Keep doing you. I got question marks about if you're fast enough and you're good enough to get off of a man press at the line, and you're telling me you don't watch film to learn how the guy's going to attack you. You don't watch film to learn how defenses approach you and might change things. And the only time you watch films with your teammates in the wide receiver room, I was so out on that. And he was very flippant about it too. Like, I don't like football. Like, get out of here, dude. I love football. It's one of my favorite things in the world. And I don't like football. I don't watch football.
Yeah.
I was watching a Tebow playoff game on the NFL Network the other day. I was just all right, let's turn it on.
Yeah, we're out.
But so I'm not some sort of fraud that, just is wishy-washy on a prospect. This is worth flipping on a guy once I found this out.
Well, and I mean, look, we're obviously
it's like finding out your spouse is cheating on you.
I don't know about that, but we're not in like we're kind of having some fun with this, but we're also like cabin fever, like the draft is approaching type of vibe. But to me, like, if we just take the information we have about McMillan, and Steve Smith says that he doesn't have any dog, like, that's basically what he said. Like, he essentially said he doesn't have any dog. He's not an ass kicker. He's not a killer on the field. And then he says he doesn't really like football. Like, I think you can kind of connect that. Like, you can kind of connect that to those two types of things. Other thing, the question about speed and all that. But yeah, I'm it might be petty. I'm out.
I would also, like, the way the Texans always talk about interviews, and D'Amico Ryans talked about this at the Combine. He's like, we want to know these players why. Well, then why does Ted McMillan play football?
Because he's good at it.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's not a good enough answer for me. If he was good enough at science, he'd go be a scientist, I guess, because it doesn't seem like he loves football.
Primetime V. He says he's a Denny's or IHOP over Waffle House type of guy. I can't tell you the last time I went to a Denny's. I do feel like I've been seeing a few more Denny's. I really, really, really believe, and I was actually talking to my wife about this the other day. I think if IHOP would just do a complete rebrand and like just completely like, you could have the same type of stuff, but even like make it look different or something like that, I think they could dominate. Like 24-hour breakfast, like it's just a pass through, but when you've gone, it's not terrible. I just think IHOP really needs to. I think there's an opportunity there for them. The 24/7. I like Waffle House. Okay, I just think some people gas it up a little bit too much.
So like if you look at a Taco Bell now, like they've sort of modernized the look of Taco Bells.
They have, and they've done a good job. I don't like the McDonald's new look, but I think Taco Bell's done an excellent job at it.
So you're advocating for something like that with IHOP, just sort of modernize the look a little bit.
Just modernize it. Just make the light maybe a little bit more flashy or something like that. Like, I just think 24 hours, I think it's just kind of slept on. It's gotten a reputation. Denny's, can't remember the last time I went to Denny's.
I'm not a Denny's guy.
Yeah. Waffle House, hey, it can be good. People say it's better in Atlanta. I would agree with that. I ate it every day when I was in ATL, but it's not like awesome. It's okay. It's good. It's not like incredible.
I like the hash browns a lot because they'll put whatever the hell you want on them.
We already have our diner. The diner that we've adopted that's kind of taken over Avalon.
Yeah. Jackie's.
Man, that place has everything. They had a pho special the other day. People with chopsticks and shit. And it seemed like the normals liked it. I'll just say it. I was completely dismissive of getting the pho, but I looked over.
Race car!
There was an Asian lady eating it, man. And she looked like she was enjoying it. I'm just honest. There was an Asian lady eating the pho. And I was like, maybe I should get it. I didn't get it though. Went with the fajita omelet, but she was enjoying it. She did seem like it was something that she had before.
Yeah, and
so I'll give her credit on that.
You had a little bit of a cold too. Would have been a good.
Would have been nice.
Would have been a good move for you.
Would have been nice. Yeah.
Would have been a good move.
She was doing her thing. So, yeah. Shout out to all the diners out there. Shout out to the waffles. Shout out to the chicken.
Shout out to the folks that work those overnight shifts too, because you got to deal with some absolute maniacs that roll through there.
You're talking like the drunks,
people who've been partying, people who are coming down, people who are just, really kind of getting the evening started sometimes because they'll go eat and they'll go party some more. Like, yeah, get out of here. Just be nice. Tip the waitress. Don't yell at the cook that he takes forever to get your eggs.
Yeah, who yells at a cook?
I do like every now and then after I've had a few, I do love checking out, Katz's in the middle of the night. Just go get me a giant, ungodly large sandwich.
Katz's? I never even heard of Katz's. So I don't think about it.
Katz's, the sandwich place?
Nah, don't know about that. I don't know about that.
You don't really like sandwiches, so
yeah, I do.
Yeah, you don't really like.
That's a lie. That's a lie. I've been on the Jersey Mike's kick lately. They got the bowls, so the bowls go in. Do you follow the Jersey Mike's guy on Instagram? That crazy sub guy.
Is he the guy that makes them and makes them? Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
Well, big day for Jersey Mike's.
Charity day.
No, they're the official sandwich of the NFL now.
Oh God, yeah, they're about to make some moves.
They replaced Subway.
Subway's crazy, man. Like it's been the same quality forever. $5 footlongs you used to be able to do some damage on, but now it's just like it's the exact same sandwich and it's jacked up, man.
Yeah, Jersey Mike's the official fast food sponsor of the NFL now.
So I have a question too, about JJ Watt. Do you think JJ Watt will be good as a color analyst? He's going to be paired with Ian Eagle, which, my God, if you want to start your career off and you want someone that's going to set you up and make you look as good as possible, I don't think you can find better. I think Ian Eagle, this might be a sin in Houston. I think Ian Eagle's 100 times better than Jim Nantz right now.
Yes.
I think Ian Eagle, and we got an update on the most popular prospects, so don't go anywhere. We got you updated there on SNL, but we're taking a break to talk about JJ. But I think Ian Eagle is the best, and I think JJ, it could go a number of ways. I'm intrigued to see how JJ is at this. I didn't necessarily love him as an analyst. I thought he was getting a little bit better. I thought he was better in the moment, like when the games were going, like immediately at halftime and immediately after was where he had his strongest opinions. I feel like a lot of the opinions before the game were kind of overly thought, and he kind of came across as a player who was still kind of trying to be way too pro player and not doing his job. But I think once the lights were the brightest, I thought he did an excellent job, which is why I think JJ is going to be pretty damn good at this.
This is the next number one team at CBS. That's once I saw that.
Number one by ranking. There's a chance they're the best immediately.
Correct. I believe they'll be the best CBS team quickly. And then I believe they will supplant Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. I believe there's 4 more years on Romo's deal. See you later.
Dang.
Nantz is very close to doing only the Masters. He's very close to that.
You sure?
I was told that from a broadcaster buddy of ours.
Okay, well,
He's like if he knew that he could, he'd get the okay for it. He would just do the Masters.
How does that make you feel?
He would just do the Masters and then call it a career. I think he mentioned it today, like or in the past couple of days. Like he wants to do the Masters till 2036, and then that's it. So I have high hopes for Watt. What you talked about, like some of the game presentation where before the action gets going, it may take him a moment to get comfortable doing that. But once he gets comfortable with the, hey, I'm standing next to Iron Eagle, we're getting ready to, talk about the game. Like once he gets comfortable with that, I trust him in game to be able to find stuff, adjust to stuff, pay attention to stuff. I'm also interested, like, hey, like he's pretty critical of officials. Is he going to continue to be critical of officials on the broadcasts?
Yes. And the other thing about JJ is that it's going to be all his. Like you're not sharing with, X other guys that have been there before you. The floor is yours.
Yep.
And you're going to get teed up. It's like playing in the early 2000s with Steve Nash in Phoenix. Like you're going to have so many easy shots, easy bunnies. Like there's no one in the world that you could put JJ's in a really, really good position. And I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be good.
The most entertaining broadcaster in all of broadcasting when it comes to the play-by-play guy is Kevin Harlan. But Harlan is not the guy that you want to start your career with. Ian Eagle is the ultimate start your color analyst career with guy. And if CBS doesn't make them the top team soon, I would think that all these other entities that have football,
one of these streamings that are going to snipe in or something like that.
Amazon would come knocking, or Netflix when they get football. Like somebody would come knocking and would snag both those guys. But good job by CBS to kind of think ahead a couple of years before they have to, and get that new number one team ready.
All right, on the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Trill Kicks says, did we watch Blue run into the second round?
No.
Talking about Jaden Blue. Now, Jaden Blue said he had a slight tear, soft tissue tear when he ran. Now, a lot of times guys say that, and then they go, well, he was in the 4.2s this time. And that seemed a little bit more accurate. So Jaden Blue did run. There were all the scouts that I saw, like the range was 4.25 to 4.28 or 9. So that's a little bit more accurate with what we see. He also said, and he told me he was going to meet with Houston at the combine, but he's meeting with two teams that I just think, my God, these teams just seem like they would really, really like to have Jaden Blues. Number one is the Philadelphia Eagles. They kind of a change of pace guy. We see him use it with Gamewell. They also signed Capzilla, didn't they? Did they sign AJ Dillon? Is that right? Yeah. So they got nice mix of backs. And then Sean Payton, like immediately when I saw Jaden Blue was going to the draft, like just like last year, and as soon as Xavier Worthy declared, I was on record via Twitter, and I think a lot of people were saying that's a Chief. That's a Kansas City Chief. Xavier Worthy is a Kansas City Chief, and it just felt like a foregone conclusion. Jaden Blue feels like a Sean Payton guy. Now, how early is that? Who knows? I think it would be nice if the Texans could bring him in along with another running back and use him, but he really just feels like a Sean Payton guy. It would not shock me to see Denver get him in the third round. Would not shock me one bit. And if it's not him, I think Sean Payton tries to find a running back who can catch the rock. That's one of his specialties.
Yeah, Denver's got the 85th pick overall. That's their third round selection. And I would tell you, I'd be shocked if he gets past 122, which is Denver's fourth round selection. So, yeah, the Blues, he's in that range now where maybe the Texans aren't going to have a crack at him if they don't take him in the third, because they don't have a fourth, and he's gone by the time they're back on the clock in the fifth.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe he falls. I don't know. I find that to be hard to believe. But who the hell knows these days, man? Like it's interesting. But when I see Sean Payton, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's his guy. He got his Ingram. Like, yeah, that makes sense too. That's a mix. So he got his Jimmy Graham. I know we always do this, and I kind of make fun of it at times, but he got his Jimmy Graham type, although not as athletic, just different style, but you get what I'm saying, more of like a receiving tight end. Is he going to get his Kamara? That's
Yep.
could be an extreme. So we'll see where that goes with Jaden Blue. Back to the soup. Sean Gregg.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
It's a good question. Why does Stoots looks like he'd give me a loan with a 25% interest rate?
Look, we can get you into that home in that part of town. It's just going to cost a little bit more than you're comfortable with. Or, if you come see me on Saturday, we can get you off the lot in a pre-owned 1995 Honda. We did Shark Tank prospects. Are you in or out on these prospects? And we were out on a few guys at 25. Actually, Landry was out on a whole position group, but you just have to hit the
two position groups, all D linemen.
Yeah. Landry was out on a whole section of the defense. So just hit the rewind button. You'll check it out.
Yes, that did happen, and I am not sorry for it. I'm very happy about it.
Thank you for the super chat.
Back to our guy Trill Kicks.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Can Hampton fall to second round? Love you guys. We love you.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. It can absolutely happen. Now, here's the problem. If he falls to the second round, he's not falling to the Texans. And that's why the Texans are kind of in an interesting spot, because once day one expires, this is what's gonna happen. I can promise you. We're gonna see best players available, and we're gonna see probably 3 running backs on the 10 list. We're gonna see Henderson, perhaps, depending on what happens. We're gonna maybe see Hampton, depending on what happens. They'll probably put Judkins up there too, and we'll start hearing about running backs. So I know I always like to use buffet references, but you're basically going through the buffet line when it comes to the running backs, and there's about 5 pepperoni rolls left, and there's 5 Cody Stoots behind you when it comes to the running back. So you either take one of those 5 at 25, or all 5 of those are going to be gone. Maybe through one person, if I'm being completely honest.
I was going to say, I feel bad for the other 4 Cody Stootses behind me.
Do you have any shame? Like, if there's 2 pieces of sausage pepperoni and you got someone behind you, are you going to leave one, or are you just got to, it's coming back, so you're going to go to it?
They want a new one. Talk to the person. They'll make you a new one. I'm taking what's there. If you wanted
12 minutes, man.
If you wanted what I had, you should have gotten in line in front of me.
So we have an update on, I don't think either one of us are out on this guy. He knows CJ Stroud. We talked to him at the combine. Emeka Egbuka, the man who gives out Bibles on the Ohio State campus. I don't think you lose points with the Texans for such activity. Now, you could lose points with the Texans if you run a slow 40. But we have the Emeka Egbuka 40 time. Could I interest you in a 40?
Fire away.
When's the last time you drank a 40?
It's been a long time. It was taped to my hand.
Edward 40 hands, baby. Did you use Mickey's, or did you use Hurricane, or did you use Bud Ice?
I think it was Mickey's.
Ooh, Mickey's will get you, man. Bud Ice. You drink those Bud Ice 40s, though. They really get you.
Oh, yeah.
Emeka Egbuka 40 per Dane Brugler, 448.
Good enough.
So we have a 448 40, which I think is good enough to keep him in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this isn't like some propel where, all of a sudden he's a top 15, whatever. I think that's in the JSN range, if I'm not mistaken. 448 is really, really, really good for Emeka Egbuka. So I don't think his stock really changes. I think he had more to lose than gain, unless something just crazy happened. So that's where we're at with Egbuka. 448.
Yeah, and he had I think a 38-inch vertical is what I saw. So there was some
going to be around 40.
There was some explosion to his game, and he didn't do all the testing. Okay, that's fine. But his athletic score was still high enough that you're not concerned that his athleticism is going to be an issue at the next level.
No. No, yeah, that's not a bad day for him at all.
No.
So he was popular before. He remains popular. I asked Egbuka about his relationship with CJ Stroud at the combine. This was just a little snippet of what Egbuka, Mr. 448, had to say.
All my 4 years throughout college.
What's your relationship like with CJ Stroud, and have you met with the Texans?
I have met with the Texans. We had a great meeting. That was formally, and CJ and I, obviously, I have a lot of love for the guy. Just to see what he's doing with his faith too at the next level. That's something that I'm just so proud to be able to see as a friend of his, and our relationship definitely runs deep. I think that you have a special connection when you're catching passes from him and going for 1,000 yards for a Super Bowl season. So playing with him was amazing times for me. Connected all.
Okay. So there you go.
Yeah. I like Egbuka at 25. I don't love it. I like it.
I'm good with it. I'm very, very good with it if they so decide to do that.
He's got a role right away in 2025. You can play him a little bit outside. You can play him a little bit inside. And then when Christian Kirk moves on, he's your slot guy.
Yeah, and I think he can do a lot of the small things that they would want. I'm not sitting here saying he's a good blocker or something like that, but
He is.
yeah, he's not bad. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good with Egbuka for sure. I don't know if he's going to be there or not. I think it's possible. I actually think it's a pretty strong possibility. Sometimes it just kind of falls to what you think it might be. I think it's very possible that Egbuka's there. I think it's very possible.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. You can have multiple slot guys, multiple guys that do slot stuff, and especially.
And Kirk can go outside, and so can Egbuka. Like you don't pigeonhole these guys.
Yeah, move them around. It happens. It happens in New England, and it damn sure happened with the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm good with that. The possibility, very open to Egbuka, and I guess that's good news. Some people said they wanted him to run a little bit slower.
Hey, the Texans don't care about 40 times. Just ask Kamari Lassiter.
By the way, Cody, I don't do this often. I kind of think I deserve a little credit, but I got to give you some flowers.
I can buy myself flowers.
I won't buy them for myself. I'll buy them for you. Pause. You called it. You called the hamstring pull. Shout out to I Must Vandaline for guiding us in that direction, as well as some other listeners. He claimed he pulled the hammy, and then he deleted the tweet.
Yes,
After he claimed it.
That's the crazy part. Pandalee with the super chat. She's in on Restrepo after the tweet clearing up the 4.83 40-yard dash.
But he deleted it. Deleted it.
So I was doing a lot of from now on, remind me when somebody does something like that, screenshot it. Like I can't believe there's not a ton of people that don't have that as a screenshot when something like that happens. But he talked to a Miami Hurricanes website and gave the same quote roughly to them. And you can't find the tweet, but here's what the tweet.
I Must Pandaline has the screenshot.
Oh, she does.
Yeah, DM it to Cody right now. DM it to Cody right now. Slide in them DMs and DM it to Cody. He's looking great right now. I think he might even root for the Oklahoma City Thunder if you DM it. So we'll get it. We'll get it in a sec. I Must Pandaline. Yeah, they're playing regular season ball. But yeah, he did. He came out and made the statement. He deleted it. Now I did kind of look in the comments because she got a few people guided us in those comments, and what happened was it felt like a lot of Florida fans were talking shit to him. Then there were Florida State fans talking shit to him. And then he probably just got a little bit embarrassed. There it is right there.
Great,
man.
Great snag, Panda. Great snag. Don't usually do this, but I feel like it's necessary due to the circumstances. During warm-ups yesterday before the 40, my right hamstring tightened up on me and prohibited me to opening up and running my fastest. The reason I still ran is because for 2 straight weeks, I consistently hit 4.53, 4.58 laser in training and thought I could still pull it off. I did everything just because it's in my blood to compete. With that being said, I'm now focusing on getting back to 100% healthy and getting ready to play football, ready to let God take over.
Okay.
I got news for you, Xavier Restrepo. I got news for you. There's 20 some odd days before the draft. If you get healthy, I'd run another 40. If you get healthy, I'd go ahead and just go run a 40. It does move him out of day 3 back to the back end of day 2 for me.
What did we make of the whole Gunnar Helm situation?
Well, if I'm giving Restrepo a pass, I got to give Gunnar Helm a pass too.
All right, now here's the thing, Cody. Here's the problem I have. Now, we saw Gunnar Helm run the slowest 40 that we can imagine. What was it, 4.9?
It was not good. I'll go find the exact number.
And then he put the picture of his ankle up, and you could see him twerk his ankle. But then yesterday, he didn't run the 40, but he did the on-field drills.
Okay, so he's just slow. He ran a 4.8 4.40.
Yeah, and he didn't run the 40 yesterday, but he was running routes, and he was running around looking pretty good out there, looking a lot like Gunnar Helm. He just didn't happen to run that 40. So his ankle wasn't good enough to run that 40, but it was good enough to line up and catch passes from Quinn Ewers and run fades and outs and stops and all that type of stuff.
That's another thing about Restrepo. Oh, you got hurt during the 40, so you went out there and still caught passes and stuff from Cam Ward and did all your cuts and your jukes and your moves. So I don't know about
No, and those cuts and jukes are work.
Yeah.
Like, it's work. No, it's serious work. Like, he's doing work in that slot. That is a quick ass white boy. But sometimes the 40's not for everyone. 40's not for everyone.
No, it's damn sure not for Xavier Restrepo, hamstring or not.
Yeah, not great.
Hamstring. Boy, I could already see. I'll ask him. I'm not afraid to ask him. Nick Caserio being just disgusted by the 40-yard dash question if they draft Xavier Restrepo.
Oh, God.
We don't really care about what a guy does in workouts, okay?
We watch tape.
He's a good football player.
But there's always exceptions. Like, some people say watch the tape, and it's like, well, didn't work out. So there's always exceptions to it. So who knows? Someone's asking if Restrepo falls to the 3rd. I think he falls to day 3. I think he and Helm are both. I think we're talking 2 day 3 guys. Helm for sure.
Especially in a loaded tight end class.
Yeah, he's way down.
But depending on how much teams believe the hamstring thing, which you didn't help yourself going out there and running all your routes and everything like that. So, yeah, but back into back into round 3, round 4. I mean, there were some draft people who thought he could be a 5th rounder or later because of that run.
Emma asks, have you all looked at Deontay Thornton Jr. out of Tennessee? He could be a late round wide receiver still and be a very productive WR3.
Yeah, so he was the 2nd fastest wide receiver at the combine. Ran a 4.3 flat at the combine. 6'5", big guy. Not great production, but I still got to do some looking and some reading and some learning about him. But played at Oregon, then was at Tennessee. So it's not great when Oregon's like, see you later to a wide receiver. But
it happens, though.
It happens. Guys want to get closer to home.
Maybe he said, see you later. Maybe he wanted to go play for Josh Heupel.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you can go away from the number 1 offense in the country, you do that.
Happens. Sometimes it'd be like that. But yeah, I'm intrigued by the late the day 3 wide receivers more so than I am the day 2. Does that make sense? For the running backs, it's like 1 and 2. Like, I want to know who's going to go 1 and who's going to go 2. Tight ends, kind of the same thing. Like, the day 2 guys, like does like a Fedoni from Nebraska or some of these other guys kind of weasel their way? Arroyo, like, are they like, when do they go on day 2? But from the wide receiver position, it's like day 1 and then day 3. Like, the day 2 guys just don't really excite me as much as like kind of the back end kind of steals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a day 2 guy here or there, but I'd love to take some swings with some of those 5th, 6th round guys and just kind of see what happens.
Yeah, Fedoni, man, if they trade back, it's going to be so cool. like some people say, like, there's a draft party, they're not gonna pick. Oh my god! Like the Texans, I talked to people that work with the Texans, and I'm like, hey, where's the draft party at? Oh, well, we don't know because Nick might trade out of the first. You have a draft party and then you trade out. Who gives a shit? Like, who cares? Like, if they trade back, then awesome. Like, we're still partying and having a good time. We're talking. The speculation increases, and then we go to day 2. Like, what? Who cares? Like, what is the draft party? Like, are we just in? It's not a concert. Like, we're not waiting for Roger Goodell to go up there and say, "With the 20 of the back, Houston Texans." So, like, no, we're going there to have fun. We're going there to consume the draft. The perfect combination of the 2 best sports in America: pro football, college football, crash course, collision, reliving, conversations that develop in the middle of them. You're talking about when this guy played this guy, how this guy transferred here, why this coach sucks, blah, 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 blah. Oh, next. Like, there's all these conversations. Like, who gives a shit if they pick or not?
Yeah.
I mean, if they do that on the stream, I'm even more excited. And I'll be even more excited for the stream the next day.
Oh, boy. Let me tell you what. Day 2, they trade back. Day 2 is going to be a blast.
By the way, speaking of the super streams, and we're probably going to be streaming for, I don't know, it's going to be probably 16, 20 hours the first 2 days. Who knows? It's going to be long streams. If y'all have any ideas for what you want us to do on the stream, bingo's been thrown out. There's a lot of ideas. It's going to be a lot of vibes. We're going to be watching. We're going to try not to have spoilers. Like, I'm just going to watch the TV with the people. I'll keep a close eye on Twitter. We're going to try to avoid spoilers as best we can and just do the stream. But if you have any ideas for what we should do on the stream, let us know. We're also going to plan a party for the 3rd day, the Saturday. So the draft is going to be very fun. If they trade back, awesome for me.
Day 2. Hey, hold on. Let's see what Mama Stoots has to say. Hey, I'm on the stream. Say hello to the stream, Mom.
Hello, stream. How are you?
I'll call you back when I'm done.
All right, sounds good.
All right, love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, don't let her fool you. Sounds like the sweetest lady. She is the sweetest lady. It's one of the biggest ass kickers I've ever met. So don't like, yeah. It's kind of risky that Cody just immediately put the phone up when his mom called. Cause I mean, it could have been an F-bomb. There's probably about a 20% chance there's an F-bomb and some anger, but there's an 80% chance there's some sweetness. So don't really let her fool you.
There's like some neighbors across the street or, they're not having a great time. They're fighting each other in your front yard and all this kind of stuff. Well, they, I guess, moseyed on into Mama Stoots' front yard the other day, and I was watching her on the ring. Woo, boy, she lit them up. You couldn't put that on America's Funniest Home Videos. They'd have just been a bunch of beeps.
Someone said she's calling about the 2015 Suburban that you tried to sell her.
Pre-owned, fully loaded, new seat.
Zombie ate my bra. I like that name. Can we do merch giveaways on the draft stream? We're gonna do something. We'll
do some fun giveaway stuff.
We'll do some givvies for sure. We'll definitely do some givvies at the draft party. I'm thinking about getting rid of all my Texans hats. The thing is, I haven't really worn them. I'm just covering the team and stuff. I'm trying to get rid of. I have like 20, and they're like the ones that they've given away. Yeah, so I don't know. There's that. Probably something signed. We'll figure it out. I would have given away the jersey that I got, but it has my last name on it. Who the hell want? That's weird. I thought they were giving me a Stingley, and I was like, "Oh, awesome!" But it was like the year, and it has the last name. So maybe the wifey, or maybe it'll be cool like 20 years from now, throwback, when they change their uniforms again. That's usually how long it takes them, right? 20 years.
Yeah, right. I got a hunch that in the next few years, there's either going to be a uniform addition or a tweak.
Doyle says I look like a Fed. Dude, I do. Dude, everywhere I go, they think I'm a Fed, bro. The other day I was on the Riverwalk. So I think you got to be a little more subtle with these types of things. Like in my old days, it would have been an opportunity to go get something, whether it was white or green, who knows? I'm talking like old days, like 20 days ago. But I'm walking on the corner, and this OG has a backpack. These two young kids, they couldn't have been over 19, 20. he hands them some stuff. They throw it in their bag, hand him the cash. He's just openly counting the cash. Looked like it was probably about $1,500, $2,000.
Damn.
Looks back at me and starts walking fast because he thought I looked like a Fed. I always look like a Fed. Everybody thinks I'm like a damn undercover cop, a damn narc or something like that, like some sort of snitch.
People trick themselves, so they're like, well, no way they'd make the tall guy the cop. And then it's like, but then I would expect that they wouldn't make the tall guy the cop, so the tall guy is the cop.
Landry looks like he's coming to look at the 4 series.
Yeah, Landry's buying luxury and I'm selling pre-owned.
Yeah. But it was nice to see these kids still doing their thing with the backpacks. That actually brought a tear to my eye. I was actually proud of them.
Well, I wonder if he knows Mama Stoots' neighbors.
I was actually very proud of these kids. They looked like they were hustling. There was like the river walk, like you go across the street, there's like kind of the bars across from the Hyatt, and like you can tell there's probably a Somali or something like that going on there. Like they got metal detectors and stuff. Like it was good to see these kids getting their hustle on, doing their thing. I was actually proud of them. Now 10 years from now, if they're still doing it, who knows? But they're just trying to make a buck.
Sure.
Shout out to them.
Trying to buy their party favors.
Who's Mr. Smith? I don't know who Mr. Smith is.
That's from The Matrix.
Oh yeah, never saw it.
Yeah.
But that's
Somebody
conversation.
somebody also dropped X-Files on you.
Someone says, Landry, what was your first side hustle? Oh God.
You've had a few.
Autographs. Like we would really like, we would be able to go. We would be able to go in the locker room. We'd be able to go in the back. All we had to do was there was a guy named Larry who knew all the guys. My friend, who's still pretty successful, involved. He was always tight with the guys who did drugs. Like it was like Lamar Odom would give us like his shoes and all this type of stuff, but we would just have to get autographs. Sometimes we would like get them for people and stuff like that. So autographs, that was when we were teenagers. Like that was like till 17, 18. Fireworks for sure. A lot of that. That was like 10, 12 years. Hardcore could have got you some serious fireworks. And then I think that's really it. I never like slang anything. I lived with someone who was slinging, but that wasn't very fun. I got out of that with that was in college.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were there. So like, I think I was close to dying. Like I answered the door It's like in the hood. It was on 48th. You know how like when you go down 48th right there, like there's that. Bank? There's that blood bank. It was right across from the blood bank. So I answered the door and this lady walks out and she's like, pug puppy, my pug puppy. And I'm like, what? She goes, there's a pug puppy in your backyard. It snuck back, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, huh? She's like, your neighbor said that there's a pug puppy back there. And I was like, Kaz? I was like, Kaz is coked out and never even like outside. There's no way he told you that. And she goes, no, go check to see if the pug puppy's there. They said it was there. Like she was real insistent. So I was like about to go look at the pug puppy. As soon as I take 3 steps back, 3 dudes come out of a car and they start rushing up to the sidewalk. And luckily I hadn't lost my vision. So I just opened the door. I was like, dude, you got to get the hell out of here. And I had my phone and they went away. So I don't know what the plan was there. But they look like the bad dudes in Training Day.
Oh God.
Yeah. So I don't know if they just like thought that there was something I was going to do, but I guess if I would have went back without locking the door, those 3 guys run up with her. And that happens. And there was another time where I woke up in the middle of the night and my roommate was like yelling with some guy. And all of a sudden I hear the guy go, don't forget who got your effing weight up. And he just like leaves the room. And I'm like, man, I got to move.
I'm going to do a random roommate.
I was like, I got to move, man. I got to get out of here.
I'm going to go random roommate next semester. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm out. So there we go. I don't know how things got in that direction, but sometimes it just type of happens. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. Egbuka, big day in the 40s. Stefon Diggs, we hardly effing knew you. Some good luck, some bad luck, among other things, kind of defined that decision. in that era. And we are out on quite a few draft prospects, and we got some big things planned for the draft, which is less than a month away. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Whether you're a fish, whether you're a shark, always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.